All right. As Jesse explained, on the other side, we had to replace our unit bearing because of excessive noise and play. We went ahead and already replaced ours on this side, so we're ready to go back together with our brakes.
Yeah, and we've got our brand new rotor and our brand new brake pads. Now, check out the difference between these two here. Clearly, this needed to be replaced. This one's nice and big. This one's running out of space. A good pointer when you know to replace the brake pads. Look how thin that piece is. It's almost the same size as the plate here, whereas this is almost double, maybe triple the size of that. It was definitely time to replace these brake pads. Now, our brand new rotor, you can see it has a nice, clean machine surface here, and that's going to help our rotor and our brake pads mate properly and brake in properly. Now, when this came from the factory, it had a thin Cosmoline surface sprayed on here. We need to make sure this is as clean as possible before we get it up on the wheel. So, normally we'd use some soap and water, but a little brake parts cleaner will work too. I'm going to spray it before I put it on.
Another thing that's commonly overlooked is the hardware kit. If you're going through all this trouble to replace your brakes, we might as well do it right. The old hardware gets rusty, it doesn't hold tension as well, and this can be a source of rattles or noises, so we don't want to do that. We're going to take our old ones off, and you can see the difference between the old and the new ones. When we slide our new ones back on, that's good. All right, now we're ready to mount our new pads on the caliper bracket. One thing that I like to do is make sure that we put anti-seize on all of the surfaces that are going to make contact. So in here where it's going to slide along our hardware, and on the back where it's going to make contact with the caliper. So we're just going to slide this in. Sometimes they're a little tricky.
That looks good and clean.
We want to make sure that we're trying not to get any anti-seize on the front side of the pads, because that's going to interfere with our mating and with the braking process.
Looking good.
Get that slid on there. All right, so now we're ready to mount this.
I got your bolts.
All right, got the bolts? Cool.
You got it.
All right, you got that? All right, can you tighten that down for me?
Sure can.
All right, perfect, thanks. So once you get those bolts tight, we're going to be ready to mount our new caliper. And one thing to remember is that the new caliper does not come with fluid in it, so we're going to need to bleed our brakes anyway. But one thing we can do to cut down on the length of time that that's going to take is once we have our caliper mounted, we're going to open up our bleed screw and just gravity bleed the system to start it off. We're opening this up, it's going to become the highest point. As the fluid travels through the system, all the air is going to be forced out. Once we get a steady stream of brake fluid coming through this port, we can close it and then go ahead with the process of bleeding it the rest of the system. You ready for me yet?
Almost tight here. Should be good.
All right, perfect.